Well, yeah, I think it's 10 o'clock in Chicago and 5 p.m. in France. So let's get started. Bonjour and good morning and welcome and thank you for joining the Middleby Food Processing Group Take a Break with Middleby webinar. Today, our webinar is dedicated to the safety for employees and customers. In this COVID time, it is our absolute responsibility to provide a continuous, safe working environment for both our employees and customers who visit our premises. At Middleby, the safety of people is our top priority, and we have identified two superior protection technologies for air and for surface treatment, both with foundation of proven result in working environment. Middleby is strategically partnered with these two highly innovative and complementary companies, Bluezone and Vive, which use state-of-the-art technologies to provide superior antimicrobial protection solutions, again, with proven results at different levels. On one hand, Bluezone for constant air purification using innovative UV air cleaning technology for indoor dining, offices, and all social offices spaces. And on the other hand, with Vive for continuous protections of all surfaces by using UV-free antimicrobial lights on equipment and furniture in all meeting rooms, production, storage, and industrial processing areas. Today, you will learn how easily these two advanced protection technologies can be installed at your facilities and, combined with your current sanitation program, how they can support the health and well-being of your employees by providing a safer environment for them and for your customers. We are happy to have with us two expert panelists, Christine May for Vive and Scott Heim for Bluezone. They will present all the principle, performance, and benefit of the highly advanced protection technology, covering different applications with multiple installation possibilities. You can ask questions using the Q&A mode in the toolbar of the Zoom applications, and we will answer them at the end of each presentation. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Jean-Luc Driano. I have been working in the food processing industry for over 30 years, starting in France as a former owner and president of Armor Inox. I am now VP of Integration for the Middleby Food Processing Group, promoting collaboration and innovations between our brands to deliver innovative and comprehensive solutions to our customers worldwide. Christine and Scott, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure, happy to. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everybody. Thank you for having us. I am Kristen May. I'm the Chief Commercial Operations Officer for Vive. Vive is a health tech organization based out of upstate New York, and we look forward to sharing our technology with you today.
And I'm Scott Heim. I'm the president of Middleby's Ventless Cooking Solutions. And just in the fourth quarter, I was assigned the responsibility to launch the Bluezone air purification product. And so I'm working across different functions, different teams as we bring this new technology to life. And Kristen and I are really pleased that we're getting a chance to showcase our air purification technologies.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Christine. Thank you very much, Scott. Now, let us start by telling you about the Middleby Corporations. Middleby is a publicly traded company based in Chicago with 9,500 employees located in over 100 countries with more than 100 manufacturing facilities and distribution offices worldwide. The Middleby Corporation is made of three industrial leading platforms. First, commercial food service and beverage, then ultra-premium residential, and finally, the food processing, both for protein and bakery. Each of the 100 plus brands are positioned either number 1 or number 2 on their respective market. Middleby is a leading equipment suppliers in commercial kitchens worldwide, supplying 1 out of 3 restaurants in the world. With more than 30,000 installations working in over 100 countries, the Middleby food processing brands are involved in most of the food you eat every day, serving all market segments, both small, medium, and large food processors, with individual machines or also with full processing lines. Middleby Food Processing Division is made of 22 powerful brands working closely together and organized under 4 vertical categories: processing and preparation, thermal processing, slicing and packaging, plus industrial baking. All brands of Middleby Food Processing Group collectively develop innovations offering unique, seamless full line solutions for the major product categories in meat processing, like salami and pepperoni or other dry cure product, bacon, hot dog and sausage, lunch meat, cooked ham, sous vide and ready meals, case ready, poultry, and also for alternative protein and pet food applications. The PIC, or for Protein Innovation Center in Chicago, is the anchor of our innovation strategy across the platform for protein applications, while we have 2 BIC Bakery Innovation Centers for bakery in Dallas and Bangalore in India. Today, in addition to our industrial food processing solutions, Middleby is delighted to present the Bluezone solution as the best hair treatment solutions to kill bacteria and viruses in the occupied spaces of your production facilities. It is over to you now, Scott.
Great. Thank you, Jean-Luc. Again, as you see in the headline of this opening slide, the whole idea behind Bluezone is to help improve those indoor spaces, to make that air quality actually safer. It's a virus mitigation air purifier. So what I'd like to do on the next slide is go through the case for Bluezone. Why do we even need to worry about air purification? And I'm going to go back to the science. And you see right on this chart, proudly, the CDC logo. And when you look at what happened a year ago, when COVID hit in March, and we all realized in April a year ago that we had a huge worldwide crisis on our hand, there was lots of initial confusion. And surprisingly, it wasn't until October of last year that the CDC realized, oh my gosh, it's not the large ballistic droplets that are going to actually cause and transmit the virus, the COVID virus, the coronavirus. The issue is the small little aerolized droplets. So we've all been wearing these blue masks to stop the ballistic droplets, but it's the small little droplets that just transmit out of our mouth when we're talking, laughing, gathering with friends and family. This is particularly insidious in the restaurant environments, because as you sit down with friends and family or colleagues, just over the course of that meal, obviously the masks have come off and you're going to talk, you're going to laugh, you're going to enjoy yourself. But as the hours accumulate, if someone's shedding the virus, it's building up into the air. And the best way to describe this, as you all got up this morning, probably many of you made a cup of coffee or a pot of coffee, and that coffee aroma transmits around the condominium or around the house. There are natural movements of air. But the small little aerolized contaminants that contain the coronavirus are in that 1 to 3 micron size. They're very, very small and they're very light. They swirl around, they accumulate in the air, and they don't settle down. So the reason we've got to look at Bluezone, an air purification system, you need to actively scrub the air. And that's what Bluezone is all about. And just this month in April, the CDC reinforced the need to really worry about proper ventilation in indoor spaces. And as Jean-Luc said, we're looking at not just the restaurants, but any indoor space where people are going to congregate, and you've got to scrub the air to improve the air quality of the environment. So on the very next slide, what we're going to do is go in and describe how Bluezone works. This is tried and true technology. The CDC, the FDA, worldwide, we've all realized with UV light, you actually can kill bacteria. It goes all the way back to World War I, when the British medical establishment realized, oh my gosh, the UV light really is going to kill bacteria. And we all know intuitively, our parents and grandparents all told us when we were kids, if you've got a cut, if you've got something that you worry about with infection, get sunlight on it. Sunlight's always the best way to sanitize and clean. Well, that's the technology that we've harnessed with Bluezone. We have 4 germicidal UV lamps that are inside this box. And what makes the Bluezone product, specifically our Model 450, unique is we operate at precisely 254 nanometers, which is perfect to destroy the coronavirus. And we destroy it, we kill it by ruining the RNA of the actual virus itself. But when I say it's tried and true, this isn't something we just came up with last year because of COVID. It goes all the way back to the Bluezone team taking up a US military challenge in 2008 and 2009. The military needed to get fruits and vegetables to the troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. And with Bluezone, they succeeded, and they were able to scrub the air of ethylene molecules, get ethylene, which naturally is exuded from berries and apples and bananas, but it quickly ripens the fruits and vegetables. So Bluezone scrubbed the air of ethylene and killed the molds and bacteria in those shipping containers. Based on that success with food preservation, Bluezone was awarded the U.S. Army Achievement Award. On top of that, the United States Navy now has put Bluezone food preservation units in all U.S. aircraft carriers. So that's why I make that claim. That's why I submit to all of you, Bluezone is based on tried and true technology. So on this next slide, this is going to give you a peek into the new product that we did based on COVID. And I hope you can see what's in my hand as well as on the screen. This is one of the UV lamps, UV germicidal lamps, that operates at 254 nanometers. And as the possibly contaminated air comes into that kill box, as it comes into the Bluezone chamber, the baffles have it spill across the lights. It destroys the RNA of the coronavirus. And as the cleansed air is exhausting out the box, the last thing it passes across is a manganese dioxide catalyst, which is actually able to even scrub and take care of any naturally occurring ozones in the environment, formaldehyde if it happens to be there, and even some odor mitigation as well. So this gives you a view inside the chamber. Now these units can be positioned up into the ceiling of an indoor space, on the wall at roughly 10 to 12 feet, or in tower units, floor units that can be positioned on the floor. And I'll come back to those in a minute. But let's go to the next slide. And what I'll be able to do is actually show you the circulation as you pull the air into the box. I've already said scrubbing the air is going to be key to pull those tiny little aerolized droplets into our kill chamber. We have a motor in each one of our units that's pulling the air in at the rate of 150 cubic feet per minute. So this device, the 450 model, is perfect and has been tested to cleanse the air in a 9,000 cubic foot space. So if you take roughly 900 square feet with a 10-foot ceiling, there's your 9,000 cubic feet. And in most of the restaurants, the dining spaces, the waiting rooms that we've gone into and we've looked at the layout with airflow, it takes 2 to 3 of these units to effectively cleanse a restaurant space. And I can come back to that during Q&A. But let's go to the next slide, which will also show you the different competitive options that are out there. And I want to talk about containment, insertion, and killing. Now, containment with HEPA filters, in particular the MERV 11 and the MERV 13 filters, have been used specifically in hospitals and urgent care centers for many, many decades. And we know that when you build a medical site and you put the MERV 11 or MERV 13 air filters, HEPA filters, into the AC system, you've balanced it properly, and you can contain bacteria and molds. That's what the hospitals were really concerned about several years ago with MRSA, tuberculosis, all kinds of bacteria that they needed to scrub out of the air. So we do have containment vehicles. Now, as we all start to travel, I think you're going to notice, if you haven't already, you go into the airports, whether it's United, American, or Delta in the US, you will see pictures of the actual airline staff in the hazmat suit with the respirators holding a HEPA filter that they've pulled out of the aircraft to be replaced with a fresh HEPA filter. So clearly, I have to admit, the containment system does work for scrubbing the air, but what that does create is a new biohazard, a bioburden that has to be disposed of on a regular basis, and it also can be very expensive to replace these filters several times per year. So containment's the one area. The second one I want to stress, insertion. Insertion means that you've got products that are putting chemicals, gases, things into the air that can actually kill the coronavirus and also treat bacteria and molds. And what's absolutely stunning to all of us as we get into the air purification category, there are some companies that are actually advocating dry hydrogen peroxide mists to go in the air, ozone to go in the air. And I'm even holding up, if you can see this, this is one of the needlepoint GPS ionizations to inject positive and negative electrons into that space. But with all these insertion methods, all I have to do is tell the customers, and you as well, if you're looking at some of these solutions, go to the owner's manual or go to the material safety data sheet. And you will see in almost every instance, the competition says these are very effective, but do not use during regular business hours. Why? The injection, the insertion of gases and certain elements into the air are not safe when the customer's in the space or when your employees are in the space. So I submit to all of you, what value is the insertion method if you can't operate when you actually have people in that indoor space? That's what air purification is all about, which is a perfect segue to the third area, and that's the killing. And that's what I've been describing in my opening comments. And as you've seen on these slides, we are able to actually treat the air and kill the coronavirus by destroying the RNA at 250 nanometers with UV germicidal lamps. So that's the benefit you have with the Bluezone technology. Now let me go into the proof on the next slide. And even though you see it's a bit of an eye chart, all I want to do is direct your attention to the data in the two red circles. The middle red circle, the one on the left, shows the fabulous kill rate in just 15 minutes in 9,000 cubic feet of space. We're at just over 96 to 98% of all the coronavirus, all the virus particulates will be destroyed in 15 minutes. And after 60 minutes, it's a stunning kill rate of 99.9995. We've effectively cleansed the air. But before I leave this chart, I am not submitting that Bluezone's the holy grail or the silver bullet. In those indoor spaces, whether it's restaurants, patient waiting rooms, law offices where you've got conference rooms, people still have to be disciplined and clean the surfaces. If someone is shedding the virus, maybe they're asymptomatic, they're still touching the tables, the chairs, the doorknobs, you still have to be diligent, you still have to be disciplined and clean the surfaces. But here is the data, the proof point that we actually do scrub the air and have these effective kill rates that are fabulous. And as I'm speaking, we just are finishing the testing with the US military. Even though they approved and gave us awards on the food preservation units, they are retesting and going back through our virus killing for the troops and to make sure no germicidal lamp, no light escapes out of our box. We also are pursuing with the FDA a class 2 medical device on Bluezone. And the reason we can do that is we're seeing more and more interest on the large hospital centers, the VA, outpatient waiting areas where they want to treat the air where the patients are waiting in particular. So from this lab area, what we're going to do now is go into the next point. It's actually the Model 450, the spec. I've already discussed all the 4 UV germicidal bulbs. There is a 1-year life with these bulbs. They do go beyond that, but we have to make sure we don't lose the efficacy with the lamps. So every year we replace the 4 lamps. That's 8,800 hours. There's a counter on the display that shows the life of the bulb. As I've said, each one of these units can treat up to 9,000 cubic feet of air or 250 cubic meters. The electric configuration set for both North America as well as the European market at either 120 volts or 240 volts. And it takes only 3 amps to operate this unit. The motor is pulling the air, it's scrubbing that air at 150 cubic feet per minute. And we can install these very easily in a drop-down ceiling. We can put them into a tower unit, and we can even put them in wall units in the men's and ladies' bathrooms. Again, with Middleby and the way we all look at air purification, it's all the enclosed spaces. It's all those areas where if someone is shedding the virus, we have to make sure that we're scrubbing the air and cleansing the air and making it safer for the customers and for the consumers. So I've quickly gone through a lot of information in terms of the case for Bluezone, how it's tried and true technology, going through the fabulous kill rates. I want to finish with a short video that's 1 minute 45 seconds, which I think will bring all the points I've talked about with the features and attributes and benefits into one quick video. So if we can roll forward with the video, I will be able to complete my Bluezone comments.
Viruses are spread by droplets and aerosols that come from coughing, sneezing, talking, and breathing. Larger droplets can land on surfaces up to 6 feet from the source. Hand washing and constant surface cleaning reduce the risk of contact transmission. Social distancing reduces the risk of infection due to the inhalation of droplets. However, small infectious aerosols can follow indoor air currents and can spread far from the source. This has forced restaurants to implement limited and outdoor dining. Bluezone by Middleby was created to bring diners back inside by destroying 99.9995% of airborne infectious aerosols in occupied spaces. Designed for restaurants, the units can safely protect spaces 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. As infectious aerosols are drawn into the reaction chamber, they are exposed to intense UV irradiation, and the residence time within the reaction chamber ensures a log-5 reduction of infectious aerosols per pass. The germicidal UV light destroys viruses, mold, and bacteria through oxidation or by damaging their RNA, thus killing the contaminants. As air exits the reaction chamber, it passes through a room temperature oxidation catalyst to remove any volatile organic compounds. Purified air is returned clean and fresh, protecting your employees and your customers. Bluezone by Middleby freestanding credenza, tower, and podium units are designed to provide the same protection for any decor and space.
So thank you for listening and paying attention to the Bluezone story. And at this point, let me turn it over to Kristen to talk about the bacterial lights that we have with Vive.
And Jean-Luc, I think you were going to maybe say a couple of words before I take over.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So thank you very much, Scott. And Middleby is delighted to present the Vive Continuous Antimicrobial Lights UV-free advanced technology with its application for the food industrial working environment. Vive uses innovative visible light technology to address microbial challenges directly impacting the surfaces of the table, equipment, and processing line in industrial workshops. Middleby partnership with Vive allows our customers to benefit from another significant hurdle to prevent microbial growth and maintain safer working environment for employees and for customers. All this is done by combining strict sanitary design on equipment, regular in-depth cleaning programs, together with these market-changing antimicrobial light technologies. Well, now it is for you, Kristen.
Thank you, Jean-Luc. It's fantastic to be here today, sharing these market-changing technologies with both Middleby and Middleby's customers, as well as with Scott and Bluezone. We believe these partnerships bring together Middleby's expertise and reach as a global technology leader in commercial food service and processing equipment with Vive and Bluezone's proprietary market-changing antimicrobial light technologies to help solve many of the complex food safety and microbial challenges facing the food industry today. Vive's proprietary technology adds to the Middleby portfolio antimicrobial surface protection that can be used 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And Middleby joins other global organizations such as Delta Airlines, Citibank, New York City Transit, leading healthcare institutions and global food processors that are leading the way and adopting our technology into their everyday operations. So what is Vive's solution? Vive developed a non-UV LED technology that reduces the growth and presence of bacteria, endospores, mold, viruses, and other unwanted microorganisms in environments and on surfaces. And the very unique part is that our lights are able to be used continuously around people since they are UV free. So how do we do this and what do our products look like? Vive is using a portion of the spectrum known as the visible light spectrum, and specifically wavelengths between 400 to 420 nanometers. This portion of the light spectrum has been studied going back to the 1800s and validated to be highly efficacious against microbes. And what is very proprietary to Vive is that we have figured out how to custom engineer this portion of the spectrum that is naturally violet in nature and emit it instead in a high quality white light. This allows Vive to provide a solution that is a replacement for your standard overhead lighting as it multitasks to both deliver antimicrobial protection plus provide high quality illumination. Said another way, if you look up right now at the lights that you're sitting under, we can provide a direct replacement that looks, feels, and acts just like a standard LED light, only it is continuously killing organisms. Our company began in 2000, like I mentioned earlier, side of things. Our companies are validated and trusted technologies. They did not just enter this space as a result of the pandemic. As you look at this slide, we're depicting two modes of operations that we have within our products, two distinct proprietary LEDs that we're using. The first is our antimicrobial light that is used when illumination is needed in addition to the antimicrobial action. You're seeing that on the right-hand side of your screen. The second is our enhanced antimicrobial mode, which is still safe to be used around people, but it operates at a bit higher intensity, little faster of a kill time for when illumination is not needed. And we encourage our customers to use this mode instead of turning off the lights. And we'll look at what that means in terms of continuous protection in a couple of slides. We will also be showing some custom applications later in our discussion. And often in those custom applications, we're focused exclusively on using our enhanced antimicrobial LED, the violet LED that you're seeing on the left-hand side of the screen. There are very few technologies that work 24/7 to clean surfaces, and perhaps even fewer that can mitigate many of the risks that are some of the food industry's costliest challenges. And now it's available in forms that can be quickly installed as lights and or customized to integrate into and around equipment. Our technology is tested to the IEC photobiological safety standards, which evaluate exposure risks due to thermal considerations and to eyes and skin. And we fall into the exempt category, which is the lowest risk category and allows for continuous and unrestricted use. To emphasize this point, the standard LEDs that we work and live under each day are generally a risk category 1 or 2, which means that they do have some exposure limits. Ours do not. From an antimicrobial standpoint, similar to how Scott was talking about the FDA and being a medical device, our technology is regulated by the EPA as a pesticide producing device. and tested to ASTM standards, which are controlled laboratory testing standards per EPA guidelines for all of our efficacy claims. Vive is proven effective against bacteria, mold, yeast, viruses, those living organisms that replicate rapidly over the course of minutes, hours, and days. Ours is a passive kill versus an immediate blast, such as with UV light. So we talk about impacting organisms in the environment over the course of a day. Vive is and has been for many years the global leader in clinical research specific to the visible light spectrum. As mentioned earlier, there are many years of scientific studies showing efficacy of this 405 nanometer light, and Vive has a wide body of independent third-party testing validating Vive's technology specifically. Finally, Vive's customers have tested our technology across a variety of industries and applications. And more importantly, they've tested out over time, 4, 6, 12, 36 weeks, with demonstrated sustained reductions in total colony counts throughout the environments. These industries and applications include travel, so planes, trains, buses, hospitals, other healthcare institutions, athletic facilities, throughout the hospitality industry, and of course, throughout the food industry, from food processing to where our foods are served. Vive is the only company in the category that is founded and runs on deep expertise in science, engineering that can help our customers ensure maximum efficacy. And this was a core reason for the Middleby Vive partnership. So let's look at some of the efficacy results. We'll start with viruses, and similar to as Scott presented earlier, we also have validated our technology against a non-enveloped virus, the same one tested with Bluezone, MS2. And these non-enveloped viruses are the hardest to kill. 2 recent independent studies actually inform the evolution of our claim set to include efficacy on inactivating viruses. We contracted a third-party lab to test on a non-enveloped virus, as mentioned, and our testing validated greater than a 99% inactivation, so 99.4 to 99.985% reduction. A second study in March was also released by Mount Sinai as well that tested 405 nanometer light specifically at some varying intensities that we would say equate to overhead light intensities. They tested specifically on SARS-CoV-2 and influenza A, 2 of the enveloped viruses, easier to kill. The results showed up to a 55% inactivation of SARS-CoV-2 at room lighting levels similar to what you'd imagine in your home. At higher intensities, similar to what you'd see in your office place or on a production floor, inactivation was anywhere between 91% to 99.7%, depending on the time. Similar results were found for influenza A. With bacteria and fungi, 2 of the organisms that we've been focused on throughout the life of our organization, which are much more challenging organisms to kill, our results are consistently at 1 log or 90% or greater within 24 hours. The above table that you're looking at just simply summarizes all of the results on the viruses at different intensities and times. While from a regulatory standpoint, controlled laboratory testing is critical as it normalizes all variables. As I mentioned, many of our customers have validated our technology during their normal day-to-day operations. As our technology is ubiquitous, you will see installations throughout a variety of environments. One of our customers was able to demonstrate and promote to their employees a sustained reduction of 92% in bioburden going out over 8 weeks within their office environments. Another one of our clients installed within the restrooms, and they were able to validate a 99% reduction in total colony counts, tracking out over 6 weeks of use. A large horticultural client that runs a 3-shift operation really wanted to test out going long past the 12-week mark, which is pretty standard for our protocol testing. And they tested out over 36 weeks. And they saw a sustained 3 log or 99.9% reduction within their processing room. Again, all while these spaces are being actively used. Another final example, just for point of time here, a large produce manufacturer recently installed our lights throughout one of their waste rooms, and they saw over a 99% reduction in surface bioburden. But equally as important, they have shared with us that they have not had a single listeria hit in that area since they first installed 6 months ago. So how does Vive work? Most approaches to cleaning are intermittent. In between these intermittent cleanings, microorganisms that are either missed, hard to reach, or are reintroduced by our own activities allow these organisms to again grow and flourish. These periods of time in between those cleanings introduce gaps in our microbial defenses, as seen on the left-hand side of the chart. We are an additive solution. We're not advocating, similar to what Scott said earlier, of replacing or taking away elements of your sanitation program. But because Vive can be used around people, it can be added as a foundational layer of nonstop continuous protection. It protects spaces in between those cleanings and ultimately makes all aspects of sanitation programs more efficient by lowering total microbial counts, as demonstrated in the right-hand chart. Vive is providing an antimicrobial solution, and we deliver that antimicrobial benefit in one way through our portfolio of antimicrobial overhead light fixtures. On this slide, you're seeing a few examples of our products, but we have a wide range of light types that meet all sorts of environmental requirements, whether those are IP65, IP67, NSF. Our antimicrobial lights, again, replace your existing lights. Remember, they're multitasking. They both illuminate in our antimicrobial white mode, as well as protect at the same time. And important is that they work with your existing infrastructure, your existing control systems, such as occupancy sensors. But really important is, in addition to the hardware, our expertise and solution include determining the positioning and quantity of the lights needed to make sure all aspects of the room are receiving the needed antimicrobial dosage. And this is an example of a dosage simulation that you're seeing at the bottom of the screen. With each space that we partner with you on, as long as we're able to obtain from you or come and visit the site a floor plan or a reflected ceiling plan, we will then conduct a simulation, conduct an analysis, and we'll provide you back with a recommendation as it relates to, again, layout, number, intensity of lights needed to ensure that optimal efficacy. Due to the ubiquitous nature of our technology, it truly can be deployed anywhere you have a germ concern or anywhere that you want to implement preventative risk strategies. We do often, though, work with our clients and they ask us, okay, but if we're really going to focus in, where should we focus in? And we often reference and highlight picking those areas that are high traffic, areas with high costs related to contamination, or spaces that are challenged for conducting regularly scheduled cleaning and maintenance. These can be both in common areas as well as in production areas. Thus far, we have been discussing our antimicrobial solution when we're delivering it through overhead lighting systems. But there's so much more to this story. Vive and Middleby are also working together to embed Vive's antimicrobial LEDs in and around their equipment. For example, customers often cite that keeping the floor clean under large machinery is a challenge. Vive and Middleby will now be able to help address that challenge with and for you. Another example, with conveyor belt systems, we can work to protect all the surfaces, whether we're utilizing the ceiling and overhead lighting, or we're placing our technology in other locations to be able to impact underneath and around the system. The flexibility and versatility of our technology affords us the ability to deliver those custom solutions for you. We can install within cold storage. on high-touch surfaces, such as door handles, touch panels, in spaces or applications where employee health and wellness is top of mind. And these are just some of the initial ideas, but ultimately we need to hear from you. What we do is we listen and we learn about the microbial challenge that you're concerned with in a certain application. We'll work with Middleby to understand those functional requirements, and then we'll design a solution with our technology to address that challenge. We work with Middleby to deliver a complete turnkey process to you. So why invest in the Bluezone and Vive technologies? Let's discuss some of the top ROIs. And again, these really apply across both technologies that have been presented to you today. If we start by thinking about less unexpected downtime associated with contamination, according to a McKinsey report from a couple of years ago, after interviewing food companies from around the world of all sizes, 98% of organizations shared that a single hour of downtime costs over $100,000. 81% of respondents claimed that an hour of downtime could cost upwards of $300,000. And 33% said an hour of downtime could cost them $1 to $5 million. Those begin to add up. Additional layers of risk mitigation against product recalls, which present not only a cost issue, but a consumer trust issue at a time when consumers have never been more aware and concerned about what they're eating. The average cost of a recall to a food company is anywhere around about $10 million in direct cost, according to studies, in addition to the brand damage and lost sales, according to a joint industry study by Food Marketing Institute and the Grocery Manufacturers Association. Customers have shared that they are experiencing significant financial and productivity returns as a result of having less listeria hits in areas where Vive lights are installed, resulting in less vector swabbing, which ultimately saves in time, labor, and additional lab costs. As many of us work to transition to using less harsh chemicals, having technologies such as Vive that are effective at reducing the presence of organisms, including biofilms and mold, can aid in that journey. Vive's technology and the visible light spectrum are unlike ultraviolet light in that it does not negatively impact various materials used throughout the food processing industry, including stainless steel and plastic. In addition, if we are able to help in reducing the utilization of those harsher chemicals, we can also potentially extend the life of your equipment. Proper cleaning is important, as we all know, for bacterial removal and eradication before they become mature biofilms. Providing continuous protection against bacteria should result in reduced biofilm formation as well as visible mold. Many of you have shared with your Middleby team members that by improving overall sanitation programs, you saw longer shelf life. Vive and Bluezone are additional layers of protection that can be added within your practices. Additionally, Vive has tested and demonstrated results against spoilage organisms. Ultimately, by continually lowering the quantity of total colonies throughout your food production environment, the hopeful outcome is improved yields and reduced waste. The first 8 ROIs were very focused on reducing those organisms that impact food production. An equally important ROI is demonstrating commitment to employee health and wellness by providing additional layers of protection around viruses and other pathogens. And last but not least, all of the above can build confidence in the marketplace and help in boosting overall employee performance, which in turn help maintain and enhance brand integrity. And I thank you for the time and look forward to the Q&A session. And Jean-Luc, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you, Christine. For this awesome presentation. The benefits are clear and highly promising. In addition to the Vive lighting features in the production rooms, Middleby and Vive engineering teams are working together to implement Vive lighting features on the equipment itself to prevent further any microbial growth in key locations, such as inside the electrical cabinets, above conveyors or under the equipment, and also at some specific potential contamination points like the door or the touch control panels. Maybe, I guess now it's a good time to look at the Q&A, and if we have some questions for Christine. Or...
Jean-Luc, this is Scott. Before we go into the Q&A, and I don't want to lose this top 10 ROI that Vive has put up, as Kristen went through this whole list, go back to number 9 on our list, reduce product recalls, and I'm going to build off of this. There is a huge QSR, a chain restaurant operation based in the US, where if they had Vive and Bluezone, but Vive in particular, they would have been able to handle their E. coli issue, which clearly could have been handled by Vive, but it almost destroyed the company. So it wasn't just a product recall, it essentially shut down this chain restaurant. And it was all about E. coli and the food processing. So you think of the lessons learned and the applications that hopefully everyone's thinking about now. That is one of the key things that I thought was extremely interesting when I learned about Vive last year. The second thing is we have already combined efforts. We already have a 3D rendering that's going to one of the largest big box retailers in the world, where they're doing something on the perimeter of the store, and they want to cleanse the air and they want to make sure the surfaces are clean. And with Vive, we think it's ideal because, as Kristen said, you can replace the lights and make sure in this particular big box retailer that the surfaces are clean, because people are coming in and out about every 15, 30 minutes. So we've got plenty of examples, and hopefully that also fuels some of the Q&A that both of us are eager to answer.
Great point, Scott. Thank you.
Oh, excellent.
So Eddie, were you going to plan to facilitate some of the questions both around Bluezone and Vive?
I do have a couple questions, Scott. The first one is for Bluezone. Do the Bluezone UV bulbs have to be treated as a biohazard when they are replaced, like the HEPA filters have been handled?
Eddie, and thank you for relaying that question. The good news is it's not a biohazard like the HEPA filter. It doesn't accumulate, because as those light bulbs are on, they're destroying the RNA. Nothing accumulates on the bulb. And after the year is up, when the new bulb kit goes in, which by the way only takes about 15 minutes to replace those 4 bulbs, the 4 bulbs that are dead, you put right back in the box with the new ones and dispose of those UV germicidal lamps just like you would with any LED light bulb. It doesn't just get smashed and broken in the dumpster, but it can go into the recycling area or go into the normal refuse process.
Great, thank you. Another one for Bluezone. The reductions you show, is that a full flow in the room?
A full flow in the room?
I'm wondering. I remember when this question came in, it was when you had the one page up that was going over the reductions, the 99.9 in 15 minutes. Is that for the entire room, or?
Yeah, that is for the 9,000 cubic feet. So when you position, and that's what's so cool with Vive and Bluezone, the teams want to come in and help the customer look at that airflow, map out the room. So assuming you've got, let's say, 18,000 cubic feet and you have 2 units, perhaps in the ceiling or on the wall, that kill rate is at that fantastic 99.9995 within an hour. But we're getting fantastic rates even within 15 minutes.
Great. And one for both of them, are there ceiling height restrictions for the technologies?
Another fantastic question. When you have those soaring ceilings in the food halls, we've got an example with a huge movie chain based in the US, and they do have large, going up above 30 or 40 feet. We cannot actively and effectively pull potentially contaminated air up and above 15 feet. So instead, we have wall-mounted units that could surround the perimeter of that space, and those ideally shouldn't be any higher than 15 feet. We've installed several of the wall units, for example, at the Culinary Institute of America in their dining space with soaring ceilings and in food halls, and they're up at exactly 12 feet. And for other situations, we can actually use those floor tower units, credenzas, hostess stands. So that's another way to help manage the flow if there's unusual spaces like alcoves, waiting room areas. The tower units work effectively as well.
Perfect.
Sure. And on the Vive side, and Eddie, you can supplement if I miss anything here. So on the Vive side, similarly, if we're dealing with extremely high ceiling heights, same kind of numbers that Scott was sharing, that's going to become challenging only because we're not going to be able to get enough light to those key surfaces. We tend to focus at around, call it 16 to 18 feet and below. If we're above that, which we have done installs at higher room heights, it's going to mean that we're most likely going to have to add supplemental lights to the space to make sure that we have enough light hitting those key surfaces. And Eddie, did I miss anything there?
No, we do have installs up to 30 feet, and I'm actually looking at an opportunity now up to 60 feet. So it's just getting strategic with the layouts of the lights. Another question that came in, what is the experience with production areas? This is for Vive.
Sure, Eddie, why don't you take that?
Sure. So the production areas, we do have specific applications in production areas. We take all the equipment that's in the room into consideration. We locate the lights strategically so that we can work around equipment to minimize any shadowing and maximizing the high traffic areas where we have the cross contamination issues.
And Eddie, probably a good point too, similar to what Scott shared, is that often you use the walls as well. So you work with customers, and if we need to get certain angles, we also can get creative with how we position the technology up kind of on your vertical walls versus just on the ceiling.
Yes. A couple others here. Let me see here. When should we use Vive and when should we use Bluezone?
Sure. So they're very complementary. So the Bluezone technology is really focused on air and air purification and helping with that overarching circulation. And Vive is very focused on surface contamination. We do impact the air as well, but we're not circulating air. We're more addressing the organisms that might be suspended in the air, such as mold spores, and/or by bringing down total colony counts. It does also help with the overarching air quality. But Scott, I'll let you add on anything there.
Sure. Again, just as Kristen said, they complement each other, and we have a huge presentation that was just done with the U.S. Navy. The Navy already knows how we work with food preservation, and they were thrilled to hear that we have ways to treat the surfaces with Vive and treat the air with the Bluezone. So we see the military jumping on, like many new technologies and solutions. The military tends to go first, but we also are dealing with some of the largest contract food service giants, the Delaware Norse, the Aramark, Sodexo, and Centerplates, and they operate whether it's senior living or colleges and university dining areas or even stadiums and arenas. And they also love the fact it's a comprehensive solution. No one is coming up with ways to look at the surfaces every single day, which we still are saying you've got to have the discipline and actually mechanically clean the surface, ideally with bleach wipes, but you've got to be able to use Vive to clean that surface, clean it on a regular basis, and then cleanse the air when it comes to Bluezone. So we're seeing this start to really trigger as a team, and we're waiting to see what's going to happen with the large contract food service giants.
Great. Thank you both. We actually had a couple questions coming in asking about what types of companies that we are working with and which production segments. So I'll say, I won't mention any company names per se, but we are working with some Fortune 100 companies, very sizable international global companies. And then another question came in, asking how we service and sell to Europe.
And Eddie, if I can build on what you just said too, with Bluezone, as I said, we are using the food preservation technology as our tried and true platform. We just secured the UL approval last month in March. And as of Friday, this is how fresh this news is, We got the CE approval on Bluezone viral kill units on Friday. So a lot of the customers, and I know we're not supposed to name names, just like Eddie said, they're some of the largest chain restaurants that we're looking at, the food service giants, and then a lot of senior living. The dining spaces for senior living have got to have a solution to bring those senior guests back in for lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The next crisis our elderly folks, the residents, are facing is the lack of the social entertainment part. So that's one of the key priorities for us.
And I would add, from the Vive standpoint, similar to Bluezone, we also have a portfolio of CE certified equipment as well. So no limitations. And from an overarching sales process standpoint, again, Jean-Luc, you might want to speak to this, but we're trying to keep this very simple for customers. So you would continue to interact directly with your Middleby sales rep, and then that sales rep will pull in the technical team members to help support deployment of the solution. So Jean-Luc, if there's anything else that you want to add there, please.
It's very good for me. I mean, please, all customers can reach out to our people or to your people, and we'll address their request the best we can as a team, as we presented.
And I'm going to build on what you just said, Jean-Luc, when it comes to the Middleby team. Everything Kristen said about the Middleby salespeople, that's also what we're trying to do with the Bluezone team. But for after sales, perhaps in those unusual markets, those unusual countries in the Middle East, over in Asia, we also have an incredible resource, and that's our Taylor team. So the Taylor distribution teams are spread out all over the world, and they will also be able to handle our spare parts after sales and perhaps even installs if that's necessary. So that's another aspect that Middleby has, the power of working across our brands.
I believe that's all the questions that I have right now. We've covered everything.
Well, thank you very much, Eddie. I think, well, it's almost the hour now. It's time to finish. And if you can still send to us any pending questions by email, and we will answer those. And don't hesitate to contact us as well. Well, you can see the information's addresses over here. And well, that's it. This is the end of our Middleby Safety webinar. And we thank you all for listening to our presentation. And well, it's time to say bye-bye.
Au revoir. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.